Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bobble Pod. I've got a very, very exciting episode for you guys today. We have an amazing guest with us, Ian Pruchniewicz. I hope I'm saying that right, but I'll let you do it to everyone else. We're going to be talking about a digital journey through the ages with Ian, who's going to go through. We're going to talk about things to some of our listeners that I didn't even know existed back in the day. A real journey of an individual who's had multiple businesses going through a non-digital world into a digital world and his challenges, which is great insight, I think, for our listeners. But as always, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, hello YouTube, don't forget to click on the bell notification. Our episodes come out every Tuesday. And let's get straight into it. So welcome, Ian.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. So Ian, just for everyone who's listening, has been a long-standing client of ours, Maycroft Lloyd Loom, which you're still running today.
Absolutely.
But I just want to make sure we get your last name right. So it's Ian Pruchniewicz.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, the Polish version is Pruchniewicz, but that's what you're doing is fine.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'd love for our audience, our listeners, to get a little bit of a background about yourself. You say you've got experience of the world in terms of where you come from, what you've seen, and we're going to put a little bit of a link to some elements in our description in the YouTube video. So keep an eye about that in terms of just some things that Ian has listed out in terms of what you've seen in his lifetime. So just explain a little bit about yourself, your business, and what you do.
Well, today I'm just basically involved still at my age of 75 in retailing furniture. We had a very specialised area of furniture called Lloyd Loom. Its product's been around since 1917. It was invented in America and it came to the UK in 1922. So today we're involved in restoring older pieces, which is a big part of our business now, for individuals, heirloom pieces, but also for hotels and restaurants where you find there are many uses of Lloyd Loom furniture. And we bring them back to as new condition, but also selling new furniture as well in a modern range with a good choice of colours and styles. So that's where we are today. But my retailing career started a long, long time ago. In my hometown of Featherstone, where my father was a coal miner, when I was looking for a Saturday job, a company called Hillard's, which is now part of Tesco, opened a supermarket. And I applied for a Saturday job, which I got. And I really enjoyed the environment of meeting people. And I thought at the time, although I was going through a process of doing A-levels, I'd had a place to do Russian and French at university. I just thought maybe there could be a fallback position if I don't get the grades I needed. So I inquired with the manager about whether there were any management training programs. Eventually, after several people got involved, I eventually went to see the managing director of Hillard's. And it was a place called Gummersall, which I ended up living for 42 years. Took 3 buses to get there from Featherstone and sat down with the managing director, Peter Hartley. And he told me about a new course that just started at Leeds College of Commerce, which became part of Leeds Polytechnic and the current universities, obviously. A new degree called BA Business Studies, honours degree. And it had all sorts of things which are of interest to me. Obviously, modern languages were there, accountancy, marketing, psychology, sociology, finance, accountancy, maths, everything you could think of you needed. It was a complete range of studies that were required for business. And he said to me, if you can get on this course, then basically I will sponsor you through your degree. That meant basically being trained in every area of the business, every aspect of it, from chopping up sides of bacon right the way through to delivering goods to supermarkets.
I can tell you I've done that. I used to work at Sainsbury's and I could never sit still. I went from doing online shopping to checkouts, customer services, pharmacy, PR ambassador for the store, petrol, stocking shelves, overnight stuff. Yeah, I totally get that.
What I didn't know at the time was that I would also spend time away from Hillard's. The second summer I've spent with Safeway, which were then part of an American organisation down in London. So I spent the summer with them. And the following year, I spent the whole of the 6 months working out of Paris and Geneva. Paris at the Euromarché in Paris, and then with the Migros cooperative in Geneva. So it was a really much broader experience than I would have possibly dreamt of at the time.
And then from there, you say you're an old retail businessman living with technology, and you got experience of the world. So you went into a packaging business, didn't you? You set up a packaging business and semi-retired at 50. So just explain that for us.
Yeah, ultimately, I moved from Hillards. I didn't stay particularly too long, mainly because of my inexperience and immaturity. But I moved on to work in a marketing team with Grattan Warehouses for 4 years. And that was a good experience. Obviously, mail order was basically online retailing through catalogues, basically, at the time. And then I met a guy who started a contract packaging service business, and he asked me to join him at the age of 27 to run a site in Bradford, which then involved me with building that group for the next 22 years, which we ultimately built up to £40 million sales. And ultimately, the 4 companies were sold off individually over time to management buyout teams. So at 50, I was semi-retired, and with my late wife, we started a retail business again. It was to do with furniture, antiques, reproduction furniture, and giftware in the village where we lived, which was Gummerston. We also got involved at that time in Lloyd Loom furniture, selling it through the shop. From there, we probably about 1997, I couldn't really find the exact date, we actually had our first website developed, a very basic website, which started offering, I started to put deals on there of where maybe Lloyd Loom table and chairs at a discounted price if you bought a complete set. And all of a sudden, we started to get inquiries from not just our local area, but from Devon and Cornwall and London.
That's a lot of experience you've had, and you've got a little bit of a cheat sheet with you, as I call it, that you sent through to us. If I can just borrow it for a second, I'll just give an example. So when we asked Ian, tell us your journey, this is why the podcast called A Digital Journey Through the Ages is, he talks about born in the 40s, studied, grew up in the 50s, studied in the 70s, got wise in the 2010s. Turns out you lived through 8 different decades, 2 different centuries, 2 different millenniums, gone from telephone with an operator to long distance video calls, from live matches on the radio to basically now 3D HD TV, from, when you first got computers and punch cards and floppy disk, and I probably want to know what a floppy disk is, which is what the save icon is on your actual computers, to smartphones, from long trousers, Oxford flares to blue jeans and style. Is brilliant. We're going to add this to our YouTube description as well. So thank you for that, Ian. And the first question I have really for you, and you've got some information, I think it'd be great for you to kind of share that with us. So, tell us what it was like running a business before you had a website or any digital marketing activity. What were the challenges back then before a website, before anything digital marketing?
Basically, was obviously getting customers. It was the day. We were principally in the packaging involved with very large companies supplying Procter & Gamble, Unilever, Colgate, Palmolive, people like that. So basically, to win business, you had to go out and get it. There's no way of promoting it via a website or people finding you on Google AdWords or whatever. AdWords, I still call it AdWords, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
It's still, I'm just saying that, noted, that would start in 2002, apparently, as a product. And we actually probably started using it in 2003 in its basic form. So that you had to go out and get the business effectively. You physically go out, and a lot of the time, my time was spent on the road doing 30,000, 35,000 miles a year in a car, going out and talking to people. So that was the big change, obviously, where you've now got a lot of different channels, digital channels through which you can actually attract more business.
Yeah, nowadays it's, for us in terms of new business development, it's, we still do exhibition showcases, so people come to a central location. Yes. We've got a website, we're ranking on Google, people are Googling and searching for things, people are seeing our name and brand out there through digital means as opposed to on billboards and magazines. You've brought in a service and supermarkets magazine. Can you please explain that to us? You explained that to us beforehand, if you want to kind of show it to camera as well.
Yeah. It's a bit of an archive product, really. For me, it's one of my personal archive. For my degree at what was Leeds College of Commerce, we had to do a thesis, obviously a substantial paper. It was a big part of the marks. And I used my time, the trip in Paris and Geneva, to study economies of scale, basically, looking at economies of scale at the time, just proving really that it was cheaper to go big. And that may be obvious, but nobody actually written it down and proved it. And so when I produced the thesis, the Hillard's personnel officer who looked after my training decided to send the thesis to this magazine. And they used one of my photographs from the...
So that's your photograph
that's
on the
my
front
photograph,
of
the
there,
Manpreet supermarket just outside Paris, yeah.
Yeah.
See how old the cars look there in 1971, as it's dated here. And then they printed 3 or 4 pages of in here of the thesis, showing some of the major summary results.
Can I get that? I think it's great because it's a great. If you're looking on YouTube and you're listening on Spotify, I'd say go on YouTube. We'll create a snippet of it for our social media. But this is a handsome young Ian with his glasses off. If you don't mind us showing it to camera.
He's about 50 years older, I think.
Yeah, this is how business was done back in the day. It was magazines. So, I mean, I want to be very careful with this. And it even says the 25th of November. So it's coming up to, God, how many years now? Like almost like 50 years since that one. 5p it was. To buy that magazine, it says on there. That's an actual piece of history. So thank you for bringing that in, Ian. But it kind of shows to the viewers, the listeners, and kind of like, the type of, how it used to be done. But like you said, you used to go out there. Some of that is still done today. Business is still done face to face. People want to know who they're speaking with, who they're buying from, especially in B2B services like ourselves. I think in e-commerce now, people don't care if there's a retailer. If they can buy it one click, Amazon has kind of revolutionized the digital space. So you were highlighting it a little earlier when you were talking about when you first got your website in 1997. So the next question I've got is, when did you realize that digital marketing had to be incorporated into your business? What was that light bulb moment when you realized that actually, yes, we need to do more in the digital space?
I think, obviously, competition obviously is a big factor here. People, you look at what your competitors are doing, and in our world of Lloyd Loom, there are not that many competitors. So we have to be able to compete with them, and therefore we have to be up to date with our digital marketing activities. And our social media campaigns. But in saying when, obviously it's a gradual evolution of that. I mean, as I said, we actually started doing AdWords when it first came out. It was a very simple system then. Basically, you looked at a keyword and you bid for it. And if you paid more for it, you actually were ranked above everybody else. A bit more complicated these days with the campaigns. And it's where we obviously is where perhaps I struggle a little bit these days in keeping up with that technology. Is where we need to use people like Bobble, obviously, to support us.
Yeah.
But it's been a gradual evolution of I mean, obviously the websites have to become more sophisticated, and they talk about words like SEO start to appear, and you say, well, we need people to define what SEO means. Do we use, say, Lloyd Loom more often? And it's not quite as simple as that. So that's where we need the expertise, of people like yourself.
So you mentioned you set up a website for Lloyd Loom. It was 1997.
It was for actually Maycroft Furnishings, the shop.
Yeah.
And we mentioned in there the fact that we sold Lloyd Loom and that we were offering some deals.
Yeah. And then Google Ads kind of came out in 2001, 2002. And you said you were doing about 2003. Wow. I was at the beginning of high school then. I was probably in year 7, year 8, which kind of tells you how young I was. And here's Ian already getting into the first stage. Just to have someone who knew what that looked like, in terms of Google Ads. And I was like, it's just absolutely fascinating. I'm having a bit of a fan moment right now in terms of what it's like. So what are the challenges you've kind of faced? You highlighted this just then in terms of like when evolving in the digital marketing world as a business and as an individual. Obviously, you highlight your age now, you're 75 years old. You talk about, acronyms like SEO, Google. Back then it was just one keyword, whoever bid the most got it. Now you got Performance Max campaign, something we've recently helped you restructure with your ad accounts. Now we just consult and support Ian with training and support so you can manage yourself as an individual small business. So what are the challenges you're facing right now as someone who's seen it all with your age and experience as a business owner, as an individual in the digital marketing world?
I think it's just keeping up to date. I think keeping up to date with the changes. Obviously, we talked about the changes we've been through over the years, but it seems like the speed of change seems to be getting faster. And it's because I'm getting older and therefore slowing down a bit. But obviously, one of the things that people say, why are you still working at 75 when I could have retired probably years ago? I enjoy working, and having been involved in business since I was sort of 18 and starting at Hillard's on a Saturday, I would have a big hole in my life if I wasn't involved in something. I don't have the pressures, the financial pressures I had when I was younger. In my family have grown up. I've got grandchildren, obviously. So the pressures are not there to perform like I used to perform in any sense. But I enjoy the Lloyd Loom business. I enjoy what we do. And I still get pleasure in meeting customers and getting a nice review that says we've done a great job.
But that journey of learning, new Google platforms, because it's an ever-changing digital world. I mean, you just look at the last few years, TikTok didn't even exist. Facebook and Instagram, WhatsApp, LinkedIn's come a long way. Google as a platform, YouTube. How do you stay up with it?
It's difficult. I've got people around me, obviously, who are younger than me, obviously, who will tell me what I need to possibly do. And just an interesting development on our products. We have interior designers that work in our premises now at the showroom. It's their space. They rent the space, but they recently persuaded me to really go funky on colours and ranges of on one of our standard ranges. And now we're offering orange sofas and special colours of chairs, so that hopefully we'll attract a younger market. Because typically people who know Lloyd Loom are older people.
Yeah,
older people, and the younger market is obviously there to attract. And I also talk about the post IKEA generation. So when you learn not to throw it away, it's worth buying something a bit more, keeping it.
Yeah,
then we can actually change your colours over its lifetime to meet your modern requirements. So it's trying to get a younger market into is a challenge now.
Yeah, I think if you are a young person, you should be listening to this in terms of we were talking about this in the previous podcast about marketing to Gen Z. And that's how you market to Gen Z. So it's kind of refreshing to hear that you already are considering the next generation of customers in terms of you're thinking, well, that generation cares a lot about the environment, sustainability, multiple use of products, vintage items and clothes. So they've got a product that can be styled to any color they want in the creative world we're in, but also can be restyled to another color further down the line to fit in with as they move house or redecorate or change mood and swing. So there's challenges of understanding and learning that. So what have you yourself learn about digital marketing, and what advice would you give to any other business person who's listening today?
Well, you have to be engaged with it for a start. You've got to be engaged with it, otherwise you're going to be going nowhere. And you need to get the right advice, unless you spend an awful long time learning what to do yourself, which is obviously most people in running business don't have that amount of time. So you need to take the right advice, basically.
Yeah, I always say it's learning what not to do. And that can be costly and can take time. But essentially marketing with key clients, we are taking them on a journey of what not to do, because we know what works. It's understanding what doesn't work, and you have to continually A/B and test and come up with it. So I always have this final question for our guests, and I love this question, which is, if there's one thing our listeners should take away, or a piece of advice that you would give them, based on your experience, everything we've discussed today on this podcast, what would that be and why?
Two things, really. Customer focused. In the end, without the customer, we don't have a business. So really think about what your customer needs and supply it, whatever that is. And obviously take the right advice and embrace modern technology.
Couldn't have said it better. No, I've probably said it better. So yeah, there's a lot of information and content out there for people to get. We've got the podcast. We've got guests like Ian to come on board. But if you want to learn more about Ian and his journey, if you want to go see his products, we've got a link to the website, www.lloydloom-uk.co.uk. Maycroft Lloyd Loom is the brand. We'll put a link in the YouTube video and all our articles and when we push out on social media. So if anybody's watching or listening or seen a snippet, feel free to have a look at the website if you want to update your house or design. Ian, thank you for being on the podcast. We appreciate you coming all this way. We appreciate your time. That journey has been amazing. We've got some great content there in a short space of time to share with our listeners. We'll be back again, listeners, next week. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. Remember, use the @handle @Bobble Digital to follow us across all our social media. Use the hashtag Mr. Bobble or Ask Bobble or Bobble Pod when tagging in or asking questions. We've got some exciting news to probably announce just at the end of December with a new brand launch that we have internally to support Bobble Pod next year. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and we'll keep you updated on that one. But for now, thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
And thank everyone for listening. We'll catch you in the next episode.